morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Duncan, your host and creator of the TSK State of Mind podcast. Tonight, we have another episode of 95 and 30, celebrating 30 years of the class of 1995. We have another special guest that's going to be joining us tonight. Her name is Sage. As you know, last name Sizer. Sage brings in the fire with stories of resilience and the power of staying true to your roots. As a creative force behind campaigns across industries, she leads with vision and passion, crafting visual concepts that span the generations. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, classmates, I want to be able to bring you in and introduce you to some and remind others, Miss Sage Sizer. Welcome to the stage, Sage.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. I was really glad that you were able to join us and participate in this project. So I know we have a lot of classmates that are going to be participating, but I want to give you an opportunity to come on and kind of talk about your thoughts of becoming breakthroughs and your path from 1995 to where you are now. So we're going to just be able to chop it up and talk to you and just kind of go over who you are now and where you were then and how you became to now. So if you would, give us a little bit about yourself before we jump into these questions.
Oh, I think, I think I'm probably most remembered from high school as walking around with my camera everywhere.
Right.
For me, it was almost like a security blanket. I was very introverted, and it wasn't a turn back in 1995, but it was so hard for me. But it was just like I felt like it was a way that I could be a part of high school, but even if I didn't feel like it, like I couldn't talk to the people that I was with, or, I just I always call it shutting down. Right. But, I could just kind of be there and hide behind my camera, but experience things. And I don't know if I'm a whole lot different today. When my husband and I, like the first concert that we went to, he was like, put your camera down and experience the concert. And it's like, that's how I experience things. I see things in photograph and I see things in video, and it's who I am.
So when you think about that, would you say there is one moment in high school that kind of shaped who we see today or who you are now?
I don't know if it's a singular moment. I fell in love with photography when my sister was in high school. She graduated the year before I started, and she took me to the dark room. I think she was babysitting me one day. And I fell in love with the dark room, through that. And it was just, I'd always had a camera. It was where I spent like my allowance growing up on film. But that was when it just became like a huge passion for me.
And that's kind of like trickled into what your career is now, right? With the photography and the things you're doing now.
It is. I in our senior year, for some reason, I decided that I didn't want to do photojournalism in college, and decided to get an art degree. And hadn't taken art at all in high school, and so I was just trying to expand my knowledge of photography. And luckily I did, because, I've worked most of my 30 years since high school as a photographer.
Right.
But back and forth as a graphic designer every once in a while, but just made the leap to a senior graphic design position.
So when you think about your time from 1995, matriculating through your college days, through your career that you're doing in graphic design, one thing that I wanted to look at when I was thinking about doing this project is like looking at the legacy of that a lot of our classmates may have forged from that time to now. So when you think about that, what type of legacy have you built or that you're trying to build? So I know you have your sons and your family. So what does that mean to you for us, like building a legacy from where you came to where you are now?
I just want to make sure my kids and my family are happy.
Right.
But for me, it's kind of doing what I can along the way for others. I've developed an art and been a gift. And my first job as a photographer was for a school photography company in Austin. And when I worked for them, during Katrina, and we had a lot of displaced families in Austin from Katrina. And the ladies that owned the photography company that I worked for gave every kid that was displaced from Katrina a free package of pictures so that their family could restart their family memories.
Gotcha.
And that's just something that has always meant something to me. So I've always tried to pay that forward. I've set up and done family photos for people after, with a church group after a tornado here in Little Rock. I've got, my husband and I own a skateboard company, and we have made decks that we've given the proceeds from the decks to the ones that we did so far were for the children of Ukraine. So, I just try to use my artistic abilities to help and give back. And I guess that's the legacy that I'm building, and hopefully my kids will see that.
Okay, yeah, that's really good, because I know just by what you're talking about is that you're engaged with a lot in the community, and you're making an impact in your space with the people that come in contact with you every day. I know one of the questions that I talk, because you're going to be a part of our docuseries piece, and one of the questions that I asked you, what's a truth you've come to believe deeply over the last 30 years?
I almost cried on the video when I answered that. Miss Penny was my favorite teacher in high school, and she just meant so much to me. But I just remember her telling me that happiness has to come from within. You can build on other people's happiness, and other people can build on your happiness, but you've got to find it within yourself. And she was right. It's been a bumpy 30 years, and she was right. It's like all of those times when I get down and I forget about it and I look outside of myself for other things to make me happy. I just have to come back to, she was a really wise woman.
Yes. And I think that's a lot that I'm looking forward to with our classmates, kind of reconnecting with them and learning their paths. And like I talked about famous friends, and I try to put it in a sense where it's not like that you're fame or you're a singer or a producer or something, but just your normal everyday life, the things that you do to impact the people around you, in the sense that that's what makes you famous. So I always thought about that when I was looking at people to kind of target, to highlight in this project, just looking at them at the normal day-to-day things they do that's impacting not only the lives of their families, but people around them. And so when I saw that clip, that snippet of one of the videos you sent me, I said, yeah, that's one of the ones I'm going to lead with, because it was like, it's emotional, it's catchy, but it kind of tells, because like you said, 30 years, there's been some good times, there's been some bumpy times, but all of those things shaped us into who we are now. So when you think about the phrase of my little title, because I always tell people I love country music, so I'm always going to lead with something with country music. So when you think about the title, Famous Friends, what is the word fame? What's the definition for you of a famous friend, or just being in that space?
I don't know. I wish I would have listened to that song, because I heard you talk to April about it, and it's just something that I haven't listened to, so I don't really know like how it's referenced. But I know that we've all done wonderful things, and even if we don't see the greatness in them. And so hopefully it's that. It's that one person that can point out the things that you've done that make you look back at your life and say, yeah, I did do it right.
Right. And that's what you captured it perfectly, because I know that's what the song talks about. It looks at the people in that class. There were the teachers, the bartender, the custodian, but they've done things outside of that professional space that, if you look at it, that really makes them a famous person, because again, they're impacting people on a level that they probably never knew that they would impact them on. So that's one of the things that I looked at when I kind of touched on famous friends, because it's not about any level of celebrity, but for me, being famous is how you impact people, how you interact, be able to shape their lives in a certain way. I know you've lived a pretty good life. Different adventures. You lived in Austin. You're there in Little Rock now. Your career has progressed at different stages. So, what would you define or measure? Put I guess, like a quantifiable number on what would be described as a life well lived.
Just find that it's been a full life.
Right.
You know, and it's funny. I look at things that didn't mean anything when I was there. I always look back at, I spent 11 years with Dillard's. For most of that, I was a fashion photographer, and in high school, that was my dream job, was to be a fashion photographer. And looking back now, it was probably the least rewarding job that I had. The most rewarding job that I had was when I was a school photographer.
Right.
But I didn't look at it, I looked at it as remembering the people that were our school photographers and how we probably treated them.
Right.
But it's just so rewarding getting that kid to smile, and how much that means to that parent, taking the time to comb a kid's hair and have a conversation with the second grader, and then talk to seniors about where they're going in life. And
right.
We had the company I worked for in Austin, we had the contract to photograph the UIL state events. And so I was on the sideline when Texas High baseball won in like 2006, 2007. And I got those pictures. And, I got pictures of Brittany Griner when she dunked in her high school basketball finals. And, it's just like those memories, even the big memories of what was big to me, or taking pictures of Brittany Griner, or just taking pictures of the sweet child that doesn't smile for anybody else. I mean, it's just, that was the most rewarding job that I've had.
That's great. I think we got the same passion. I used to work with a guy. He's a photographer as well. He's in Texarkana, John Bunch. And so he does like a lot of the SEC games. He's on the sideline. He talks about the passion of that, what you're doing. So you're creative. So what keeps you curious and inspired and hopeful about the type of work that you're doing right now?
Well, like I said, my husband and I have a skateboard company on the side, and being able to design for the skateboards is free reign. It is what I come up with that I want to do. And it usually has some bit of a twist of something that's happening in the news that probably nobody would pick up on. Right. But for me, it's like I watch the news constantly, and so it's I can put some little quirk in there that is me, and so that's my freedom.
Okay, what's the name of your company?
It's Skateboards.
Okay, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if anybody wants to buy one, just put code Texas30 and we'll give you 30% off.
All right. Okay. All right. That's great. I'm gonna get some stuff from you. I'm gonna post it on my page so I can highlight. Hey, that's great. I tried to skateboard and we're just not friends.
So I can't stand on one, but I can design one.
You can design and make it good for the skateboarder. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And one thing, and I don't know if we're going to do this or not, but one of the questions that I had is, because we're doing this series and it's going to be highlighting a lot of our classmates, different backgrounds, different perspectives. But if this docuseries were a time capsule, what would you want the future generation to hear from you about your journey at Texas High to now? Because the Texas High we used to know, it doesn't look like what we went to. It's like evolved. It's like a college campus now.
It doesn't, and I haven't been in it, but my oldest son lives with his dad, and he goes to Texas High, so I'm really excited to go and see the school again. I think that it's just stay true to yourself.
Right.
That's the one thing that I haven't lost is the passion that I had then for what was important.
Okay. And that I think that's what I'm looking forward to see most in speaking to some of our classmates, just to see how they've been doing. I know I've connected with people just by this project that I haven't spoken to in years, and we've connected through Messenger and exchanging phone numbers just to see how they are. So I'm looking forward to that, just to see what all the memories that I may not even experience with them in high school because I may not have been directly connected to them, but I'm looking forward to learning where they are, who they are, who they've evolved into. So hopefully this project could give people opportunity. Like yourself, we have several of our classmates there. They are camera shy, but they're watching and they're like, "Oh, you guys did a really good job," and they're connecting with you now through video, whereas that they may have been like introverted in school, where they may not have approached you to learn about you and who you were. So I'm hoping this is going to connect them to who you are now and a lot of our other guests, so that when we get to that reunion, we can like, "Hey, man, I watched you on that show, and I didn't know that about you, but that was really interesting." So hopefully this is going to be a springboard into some conversations when we get over to mingling at the game on Friday night, and then going over afterwards to the Eagle and kind of mingling and mixing, just catching up and shooting the breeze, and then later on that Saturday doing the tour, like you said, at Texas High, and seeing what our alma mater has evolved into, because it's a lot more than that. Those oddly positioned lockers that we used to have, and the breezeway, and I guess we should call it the pit, the hole in the middle. We used to have pep rally sometimes. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's been too long. I haven't kept up with hardly anybody, but
Right.
and it's even the people that I was close to then, or people that live in Little Rock. I just haven't. You get in your own world,
Right.
and so it's nice to slow down and see where people are.
All righty. So the last question, I try to get in and get out, but the last question, in one sentence, what would you like to get out of this reunion? I know we're going to reconnect, but what is one of the things that you want to get out of one of those days when we're together again, like we were from elementary to middle school, and then when we matriculated into Texas High? What would be one thing you want to get out of that weekend?
I think you just said it. I think just reconnect. It is. It's been too long. I'm putting together some of the decorations for
Right.
the party, and so I've been going through the yearbook. And even though I took all of those pictures, there's a picture in our senior yearbook of, I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but it's like, I think Leanne laying on the ground and Nicole acting like she was stabbing her. We were walking around Deep Ellum and there was like a tracing of a body on the ground. And so Leanne, like they just reenacted it. And it's
Right.
one of those things that I haven't remembered until I just opened my yearbook, and I just died laughing the other night and had to explain it to my husband, who's South African, and thought that it was
Right.
a stupid story. Probably, no matter where he was from, he was probably going to think it's a stupid story. But it's those memories that you don't think of until like somebody like triggers it, or the yearbook triggers it or something. So
Right.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm gonna have my camera out that weekend and to chronicle some more stuff, some more memories that we'll have. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing some of those stories and getting the background behind those yearbook photos.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really good. And I really appreciate you for coming on and indulging me in this process, this project. I think the classmates, if you're engaged tonight or over the next couple of weeks as we're doing more live shows, hopefully you can reconnect with some people that you might have had a class with, you might have played football or basketball or tennis with, that you can reconnect with and probably say, well, I might need to go to that reunion this year. So, but next week we're going to have a full slate of interviews. We're going to kick off Monday with Brian Ogden. He's our chef of the class that I know, maybe more, but I'm familiar with him and his work and his tasty adventures. So he's going to be on with us Monday to speak about his path from 95 to now. And then we'll have a steady stream of people throughout each night that I'm trying to capture so they can give their perspective and their backgrounds. And then we'll go through the final couple of days, and we'll end up with the last two with Tim Horton and Lyndon Healy on those final nights. And hopefully as we transition into the reunion, people be revved up and ready to go. So join us this upcoming Monday for some more 95 and 30, some more classmate perspectives. And again, as I always say, who you with?